Hello everyone, 8.0.2 came out last week, a hotfix which focused mostly around the Tiger Warriors, let's be very fair. Creative Assembly have been trying to make that DLC a little bit more attractive to people by making the Tiger Warrior faction a little bit more fun to play. Balancing has always been a bit of an issue here, but the Tiger Warriors are a bit cheaper to use now, and that's always a little bit better, especially with upkeep reductions. It's a small hotfix, and generally hotfixes have been smaller than usual, but there's two specific issues which we need to talk about from this hotfix. One was the whole thing of oh yeah, we fixed an issue with some Norscan homeland settlements which were incorrectly set up, causing Warriors of Chaos factions to be unable to vassalize their respective Norscan factions when conquering the settlements. That's in regard to that of Kholek, as Kholek cannot get his starting vassal. The second one is in battle, so the first one was in other, and the second one is fixed an issue so that the Sky Lantern Gunner crew's effective range is now aligned with the Sky Lanterns. That's pretty much it, right? So, good enough, right? I saw the patch notes, I was quite happy. Fixes, kind of expected, but the fixes don't actually work. And this is something that's been kind of worrying me with certain patches lately, just not doing as they said, especially as we're looking towards major patching coming in the future. So let's start with Kholek. Well, Kholek, yeah, his fix doesn't work. You'll start off your fresh campaign, you'll get down to the Challenger Stone, and nothing. No vassal, no nothing, which completely screws over a Warriors of Chaos campaign who are dependent on getting some vassals up and running. Again, yeah, sure, you can just vassalize some ogres and stuff, but they can't deal with the corruption, and that becomes a problem later on. That's kind of frustrating, and this is unmodded. Now, I'm going to go into a modded clip, because I need to take off the Fog of War. Basically, again, the Avag don't really have too much. There's a lot of, obviously, historical terrain which you can give to that Norscan faction, and that used to go all the way up to the new areas. What's happened now is that the new areas have been given to the USAC tribe, right? Which makes sense. It kind of helps village out a little bit more. But the Avags don't really have much going for them. In fact, Creative Assembly somehow made the Avag capital in the new area of the Mountain's End both historical land for the Avags and also the USACs. This makes no sense. It's basically like a halfway fix. In fact, really not really much of a fix. I mean, they made it better for Village, but they really just didn't help out Kholek at all. This is such a strange thing, because this bug has been reported in the past, and it looks like maybe they took the feedback and just kind of went halfway through it, which is really strange, by the way, because it didn't really fix any problems. In fact, I do wonder if this tied in Homeland in Desolation's Ridge, that might actually be why some crashes to desktop have been happening lately, because it's trying to fire two triggers at once. Who knows? It's something that's really odd when it comes to these hotfixes. This isn't the first time that hotfixes have been saying stuff is fixed and then hasn't been fixed. Tyrion's Sunfang was 5 or 6 times. But I feel like something like this, which is really tied to a gameplay loop for a Lord, needs to be fixed sooner rather than later. I'm not sure why this hotfix said it was done and then it wasn't. I guess it's because they're stressed. They're probably got a lot of dev time on 8.1, which is supposed to be an AI fix. We'll talk about that a little bit later in this video. And then obviously the end times, which is likely riding on a lot, considering that Bashiva doesn't seem as popular as Creative Assembly would have hoped, but I mean, it's cheap and it shows. The next big issue is that of the Sky Lanterns. The patch note basically just said fixed an issue so that the Sky Lanterns Gunner crew's effective range is now aligned with the Sky Lanterns. Which makes no sense, by the way. So, as far as I interpreted it, they were going to make all the Sky Lanterns have the same amount of range as the Crane Gunners do, right? Which the Crane Gunners on foot have 275 range, whereas any Sky Lantern has 165, which isn't great. That is not great at all. And it makes no sense because obviously these guns would still be the same range. In fact, this is how it works in the old world. In the old world, we have crane gunners mounted on the Sky Lanterns. We've had the same range as the crane gunners on foot. The only difference in range with the Sky Lantern is when you switch out the crane gunners for the Iron Hell gunners. So then they would have 90 range instead of 165. Well, 275. So instead, Creative Assembly decided to give the range to the Sky Lantern Crane Gunners the same range as a crossbow. And that was something that happened in 8.0. Then obviously we've got this patch note that came out. So as far as anyone was concerned, it was going to go back to the proper Crane Gunners thing. If you get mounted, your range doesn't change. It shouldn't, because the weapon is still being used. So I'm not sure what is going on here and what the interpretation was supposed to be for that patch note. I still don't understand what's going on with certain patching, because it's happening a lot lately with just a lot of mistakes coming out, or just half-written patch notes. It's odd. In all fairness, what this does is makes the Sky Lanterns worse. Yeah, that's literally what it does. Because the range was a big benefit. Now, as far as I'm aware, the Sky Lanterns were also supposed to be triggered to be a kind of neutral unit, right? They're supposed to be both yin and yang. That's not the case at all. In fact, the Alchemist doesn't have it. And neither does the Lord Magistrate. No, I think the Lord Magistrate does. But you can get it for skill points, but it's still something that you can't use in custom battles, which is super, super odd. It's a really weird nerf. This is worse than the nerf that Games Workshop did to the Sky Lanterns in the old world, by the way. For those that don't play the tabletop, the Sky Lanterns were horrendously overpowered, and then they got nerfed to include flammable to make sure that they die a little quicker, which, yeah, I'm pretty happy about that. It was needed. Believe me, as someone who plays a lot of Grand Cafe on the tabletop, yeah, that was desperately needed. But there is no reason to bring Sky Lanterns now, I think. I really don't see a need for Sky Lanterns to be brought in Warhammer 3. Which is depressing. They've just gone into like a never recruit this. Now, keep in mind that, yeah, the Sky Lantern's not a great unit overall. I mean, it's got the Harmony Amplifier, you know, and it's got the Eye of the Dragon, which is good for spotting, but that's pretty much it. I mean, it does help with reload skill and extra range to normal troopers. In most armies, you would bring one or two, depending on how much range you brought, right? And the funny thing is that you can, like, ignore Sky Lanterns and just bring the Lord and Hero versions. In fact, nowadays, I think Alchemists and Lord Magistrates are some of the better Lord and Hero options because of certain buffs that have come in. And, you know, just the general upkeep reduction alongside maybe 2 Gate Masters. But these are just 2 issues. There's probably more. I just really wanted to highlight them today because it's been a while. I've decided to jump back on Warhammer 3. I've been playing a lot of Rogue Trader recently. It's been nice. I had a little bit of early access to the new DLC, and in general, I just feel like I really slept on Rogue Trader a lot, which is just, it's nice to have some time to be able to jump onto this. However, jumping back into Warhammer 3, seeing that issue not working because I was kind of hoping for a Kholek campaign. I've been painting up some Dragon Ogres recently, so I had that itch. It's not fixed, and then I got curious about the Sky Lantern thing, and the problem here is it's happening a lot with hotfixes, and it's happening during patches. I'm just a little concerned because there is a big patch on the way. There's an AI rework coming in like 8.1, who knows whenever that happens, right? And I'm just a little concerned that these issues might translate over. There's a lot riding on the AI rework, and yeah, I've been just kind of worried about it. So the best thing that can be done here is just keep reporting bugs. I'm going to report these again. I already did at one point, but I guess it's time to do it again. Communication is definitely key when it comes to this, and it's important to be respectful. Maybe it was just like a last-second addition and it just wasn't tested properly, which does not excuse anything, obviously, but it's still something that does happen. Human error does happen. Yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let's start a discussion. I should be live playing Rogue Trader today. Don't worry, it's spoiler-free. We're doing the other DLCs first. I want to unlock the RBTs. Like, he seems like a cool character. So, yeah. Have a good one, guys. See you soon.